1 month ago, we dropped a new tier list with a bunch of changes, and I got a bunch of really good feedback from you guys on how to make it even better. So that's what we did. We're back again with even more changes, including substantial renamings to the base categories of characters. So I want to go through this and highlight this and talk about it because why not redefine what it means to be on the tier list when we get updates where the tier list and the meta is not actually affected at all, because that's what we've gotten lately with the fantastic flop and the Doctor Doom. So from the least important to the most important, the Shadowland AC stuff has remained exactly the same. This is just Shadowland AC characters / please rework characters. This is a good chunk of just like the shit tier. Then you start with the the first tier after the gray bar, which is usable. You will see Ant-Man in the usable category. You'll see America Chavez, Sabretooth, Cull Obsidian, Quendel Vaughn, aka Homelander, Blue Marvel, Exodus, and then a bunch of familiar faces. These characters are, as the title suggests, usable. Are they good? It depends on your definition of good. They're usable. That's really my working definition. They're usable. You can use them. Are they going to blow your socks off? Probably not. Are they going to be able to do the content? Probably not. Are they going to be able to do some content? Are you going to be able to have some fun with them? Sure. They're usable. They're functional. That's sort of the goal there with that category. Lead support meta is exactly the same. These are just really, really good leads and supports for different content. This is important to keep in the game, important to keep on the tier list, so that players can see that and sort of react to that and identify that very clearly. And then we have the following 4 tiers. This is where the majority, basically all of the great characters are going to go. And from right to left, we have useful. So rather than just usable, these are actually useful characters. So they're useful for 1 or more game modes. Are they meta for 1 or more game modes? No, they're not going to be meta for any game modes, with a few exceptions, with a couple of exceptions that you can probably guess. But overall, they're going to be useful for 1 to 2 game modes. Then you have low meta, high meta, and beyond meta. I've seen a couple of people complain that I'm using the word meta incorrectly. To those people, I say, I don't care. Yeah, this is basically just highlighting, like, these are the meta. Like, this is essentially the meta of Marvel Future Fight. It's these, not these guys here. Just drag that off screen. But I think these, 34 characters. This is really the meta of the game. But from that, I want to break it down and really subdivide it into at least 3 categories. Because putting all of these characters into one category called meta is just not helpful. So now that we've established that and we've touched on that, let's go ahead and discuss the exceptions. So Green Goblin and Hope Summers. I know what you're saying, Alex. They are meta. They are meta for 1 day of ABX each, and that's absolutely true. In that case, if enough people are angry about it, I can move Green Goblin to the bottom of low meta, which would be, maybe a more accurate classification, and I could move Hope Summers to the bottom of low meta as well. Again, I don't really see the difference. If you know sort of thing. It's one of those things where I don't want new players or players that are inexperienced to overvalue Green Goblin and Hope Summers because they see them in meta, when they then come to find, oh, Hope is like a once in a blue moon support character, and she's also good for 1 day of ABX. I don't even care about ABX, right? I feel like once you get to the point where you're actually considering building Green Goblin and Hope Summers, you're already, you can already tell the difference. The only argument I could hear you say maybe is because Green Goblin has a support and a leadership, he should be meta. That, I'd say, honestly, that's a much better argument. Again, I'll wait to hear what you guys have to say, but I thought, the vast majority of the characters in this 34 character list should be tier 4, right? They should be tier 4 only. And as it stands right now, they are all tier 4 only, right? It's not that all of the tier 4s are here, it's just that they're, all tier 4able. So that's sort of my thinking there. So we had to move Angel down, we moved Gamora down because they're basically just useful. We already talked about Ant-Man, etc. We moved Star-Lord down from low meta to useful. We also moved Loki down. Again, I can see some people disagree with me because he is meta for a couple of days of ABL, but he's not very good for GBR. He's not very good for World Boss. So he is really just defined to that one thing. And he's also hard to play. And he's also, not inconsistent, but, he requires a max build. That's the other thing. So, yeah. And then I also finally changed Rachel Summers to being a universal. She was blast for too long. Whoops. And she's also in the useful tier as a backup when a lot of the meta are banned for things like Otherworld Battle. We also moved Odin and Captain Marvel down from high meta to low meta. We moved Madeline down from high meta to low meta. We also moved, these are the big ones now, We moved Adam Warlock and Silver Surfer from beyond meta to high meta. I think Adam actually should be under Cable because he really is only for PvP, and he's sort of shakily, he's kind of hanging on to his spot, but he's not even in the top 5, right? He's not even in the top 5. You got Sentry, Silver Surfer, Jean. Maybe not Jean. Okay, Sentry, Silver Surfer, Thanos, Wolverine, and then maybe Adam. Maybe. I don't know. So yeah, maybe I'm a bit of an Adam hater, but I feel like he's really rickety there on the top 5 for PvP. So yeah. Beyond that, that's basically how it shakes out, boys. This is what the tier list looks like. I really like the tier list right now. I think it's really accurate of what the game looks like. And what I really am trying to highlight with these beyond meta characters is a character that's just gonna really blow you away and really dominate for a long time in a particular, type of game modes, whether it's PvE or PvP. It's not just one game mode. It's like an entire thing of PvP or an entire thing of PvE. So I see some people hating, Wolverine, oh, blah, 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 this and that. I see people saying, oh, I'm overvaluing PvP for the tier list. I find that hilarious. If you look at these 6 characters, Luna is PvE only. Hulk is basically PvE only. Magneto is basically PvE only. So fully half of the characters here are PvE only. I know Hulk has the hammer, but he's really not useful for PvP. Like, if you know, you know. And then Jean, we've talked about this repeatedly in the last couple of months. She's not really that good for PvP anymore, but she's still amazing for PvE. So fully 4 out of the 6 characters are actually almost exclusively PvE. The only 2 that are on Beyond Meta for PvP are Wolverine and Sentry. Those are the only 2. So yeah, that being said, and then again, for the difference here between Hulk and Wolverine and why I put Wolverine over Hulk, Hulk is very good and very easy to play, but he has alternatives. You can get a very similar performance out of someone like Dr. Octopus. Is he harder to play? Does he require a higher build? Sure. But in terms of what you can get from another character, you can get a facsimile of Hulk through Dr. Octopus. There's no facsimile for Wolverine, guys. There's no combat type with immortality that you could say, hey, I'm going to use him for PvP instead of Wolverine. There's no alternative. There's no long-ass iframe ignore 5th skill, just eating your ass all day facsimile for Wolverine. There's no other, I'm going to use one skill and I'm going to one-shot Thanos' health bar. There's no alternative. There's no alternative. So for me, if a character is at the top of either PvE or PvP and there's no close alternative, like what's the alternative to Magneto? Mysterio? Okay, take a hike, right? If there's no alternative, they're beyond meta. That's just how it goes. So that's kind of my thinking here. And then lastly, I wanted to say, I know we're 9 minutes into the video here, but there's a new icon. Yes, it's the little devil emoji, whatever it's called. It's easy to play PvE. So essentially, these are characters like Shadow Shell, Hope Summers, Odin, Magneto, Scarlet Witch, who are easy to play, in my opinion. This is subjective. Some people will say, oh, Luna's so easy to play, Alex, you suck at the game. Rogue is so easy to play. Sure, bro. Whatever. Make your own tier list in that case. That's always been the case, right? If you disagree with me, make your own tier list. This is purely subjective. But in my opinion, I'm just choosing the maybe roughly 10 easiest characters to play. Characters who have very, very simple rotations, who most of which are very proc-friendly or can be very proc-friendly. There's a couple of exceptions that are not proc-friendly, like Magneto. But by and large, most of these other characters can be, if they're not already proc-friendly, they can be converted to being proc-friendly. So I think that they deserve that sort of tag, and that's going to help newer and returning players who are PvE focused zone in on some of these good characters and say, okay, you know what, Scarlet Witch, Magneto, whatever, right? Rather than diving into Luna or diving into like Dr. Octopus and being overwhelmed by a character that's more difficult, more technically, required to play well, like those guys. So yeah, that being said, let's go kick it off with the rest of the update that we've gotten since the last time we touched on the tier list. We have Human Torch and Thing, and then we correctly predicted Doctor Doom and Victorious. Thing is pretty garbage. We're just going to put that out there. I don't even know if I would call him a lead/support meta, because, the Fantastic Four team has to be meta, more or less, for him to be useful. And I don't really see that happening. So I genuinely think he deserves to be down here in usable, which is kind of sad, but honestly, it's what I think. I think he's usable, and I think even that might be a stretch, but I think he's like in America Chavez territory. Yeah, genuinely, he's not very good. He doesn't do very much damage. His artifact doesn't really do much for him. Obviously, he relies completely exclusively on you building Franklin on the team. Yeah, he gives the Fantastic Four a lot of PvE buffs, which is nice. But the Fantastic Four, yeah, I mean, I guess for Sue, but how many stages are Thing and Sue going to be together for, right? Because you got a blast female hero and a combat male hero. It's, you know, not a lot of overlap. Not like with Valeria and Thing. I guess with Thing, you can pair him obviously more with Mr. Fantastic, but Mr. Fantastic is not that good for PvE, right? He's kind of hard to play, etc. So it's kind of annoying. I think they dropped the ball with Thing. Human Torch, on the other hand, I think they did a really good job with Human Torch. I certainly think he's useful. I don't know if I would go as far as to call him low meta. I think useful is certainly a good place to put him. And I would probably say he's like an easier to play version of Star-Lord. And like, I think he does, you know, similar damage to Star-Lord. So yeah, I would put him in that category. I think he's solid. He's sort of like Miles Morales. I think he's sort of like Miles Morales in a lot of ways. Maybe that means he should be low meta. You know what? Maybe he should be low meta. He's actually crazy at level 80. Maybe I'm undervaluing him. He's actually nuts at level 80. That's true. I feel like he's the blast version of Miles. And I feel like every typing needs that, like, that Human Torch Miles Morales type character who, like, minimal investment, level 80, just blows up bosses for world boss content. So, yeah. We need one for... We desperately, badly need one for combat. Because, I mean, Venom is like 5 years old, whatever, etc. So, yeah. And then Doom and Victorious. Yeah. What is there to say? Can we make a new tier called Shit Tier? Yeah, that's basically how I feel. Yeah, that's this is sort of how I feel right now about these characters. It's pretty bad. It's pretty embarrassing. I don't know why it didn't copy the... Oh, it did. That's weird. It looks really weird in caps. Yeah, they're not good. They're not. Spoiler alert, they're not good. Victorious, I don't know if I would call her a support meta. I kind of don't think so. I'll put her there for now just to be sort of generous because, yeah, she does have the 40% HP, and that's certainly something. But as it stands right now, yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know if Victorious deserves to be on this list here. Otherwise, she's going to the bottom of useful with Quendel. Yeah, like, at this point, realistically, are you going to use Victorious's passive or Blue Marvel's? Like, I think that's a genuine toss-up. I think that's a genuine toss-up. So that being said, you might just go with Blue Marvel, right? And then Doom, he really should be... He should be here. He should be right here with Thanos, or maybe even here. But he's not. I think... realistically, okay, if I'm not being a hater, I think Doom should be here. He should be right in the middle of useful. And that's really embarrassing. That's really not where he should be, right? For a native tier 2 epic quest conclusion reward character, so for someone who's that expensive, and then for someone who is that cool, right? Dr. Doom has the coolness factor, which has a multiplicative effect on how good he should be, right? Having a character who's not really cool, like, you know, whatever. I don't know, like Ronin or something like that, right? Having him be really strong, sure, whatever. Or like, you know, Luna, she's not really, she's new to the comics, whatever, you know. Having her be strong, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, there's no multiplicative factor there. But like Wolverine has to be strong, Hulk has to be strong, Sentry has to be strong, Jean Grey. All these characters have this multiplicative factor. Silver Surfer has to be strong. So Doom has to be strong, bro. He has to be, and he's just shit right now. So I honestly want to put him in shit tier. And that's just how I feel. Yeah. But that's how the tier list looks. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. I think this is the best the tier list has ever looked, in my opinion. But yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hit me up with your constructive feedback down below in the comments. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the content. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.